Welcome to another episode of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, and it's time for a little power ranking action. It was a wild weekend across most of the regions except for Korea. Korea was kind of just, results as expected. But at least in NA and EU, a lot of change is on the horizon, it would appear. We're going to start with the rankings for North America, 10-1, and starting with the bottom half, or the 10-6 guys that are outside looking in. We got a lot of movement. Number 10, Clutch is still there. They have definitely looked like the worst team and probably haven't been the most disappointing, but haven't looked good.
No, they have not looked good. And the interesting thing here, of course, is that week one, they jump out with a 2-0 record here. And you think to yourselves, this is the Clutch Gaming that people had been expecting to be kind of this dark horse type of team, that you're seeing the higher end of their potential in that first week. And then since then, you haven't seen it. You have seen just a mixed bag of bad performances from different players on this team. I think the only guy that you can really look at that's been relatively steady has maybe been Demonte, and maybe Vulcan has been a little bit steady here. But other than that, I think other members of this Clutch Gaming squad, specifically Huni and Lyra, guys that needed to have improved in performances this year and have big roles on this Clutch Gaming squad, just not getting it done.
Huni, that has been a shocker. He has really fallen off from what we're accustomed to seeing from him. Optic is in at number 9 with that same record, but they've actually been in a lot of their games, and it's kind of like 2018, where you think they'd have more wins because they lose so many close battles.
Yeah, they've been close in the matchups that they have had here, but I think that there is still a bit of confusion on which actual roster here for Optic is the optimal one for them to be using, as we have seen them have the Academy roster up here and seem to have some type of cohesion to their game and how they go about the map and control it. And then even with this roster right now that Optic's rolling out with Meteos and Arrow playing, they still look to be in these games and very competitive and very close, but it's just slight misplays that are costing them at clutch moments in these games and losing.
Golden Guardians are up one spot. They continue to climb. And then you have the most disappointing team of the season so far, probably putting up the most disappointing week, I would say. 100 Thieves, the biggest fall of the week, down 3 to number 7. And there's a lot to take from this team, but this was a week you thought, again, they should probably go 2-0 and at worst 1-1, but a rough 0-2 week.
Very rough week for this squad here. And again, the good thing here I can say for 100 Thieves, and you can't say a lot of good things for 100 Thieves right now, is that there were some positive performances this weekend. I thought you saw some things coming together for the squad, but just never at the right time synergizing together in what was going on, and how some of these players were playing, I think, is not the way that it needs to be. And I want to call out specifically here, I think this week was a really bad week for Afromu, and this is a guy who is counted upon for so much within 100 Thieves and within the actual gameplay mechanics on what's going on here, of who we should be going on and what decisions are going on around the map here. I think that was a major misplay this weekend from Afromu that, again, I think his play was a large contributing factor into why 100 Thieves had one of their worst weekends ever.
He's definitely a lot more comfortable on the engaged supports, more so than the Tom Kench. I feel like the synergy is still being developed there with him and Bang, but we're seeing a Malphite top win a game. That's a shocker. Didn't expect to see that here.
No.
And then in at number 6, you had CLG, there's a bunch of 4-4 squads, but 100 Thieves slide below them, so CLG in at number 6. And then we're on to the top 5, where you have some seriously large climbs. Echo Fox here at 4-4, and yes, maybe 100 Thieves is the only win against a team you thought would be solid, but this has been a surprise team so far, and maybe now we stop talking about it being a surprise. They're a legit playoff contender, maybe.
I'm still surprised, man. It's still going to take some time.
I thought they'd finish with 4 wins.
I did too, but the crazy thing, again, this is the power of the kind boy. Rush has come in here, and he's brought with himself the record that, hey, I don't have 0-2 weekends in the LCS. Still no 0-2 weekends for Echo Fox here in the LCS, just 1-1, moving on through nice and clean. And every week it looks like, man, they look so bad in that loss. but then they find a way to win in their next game, and it looks okay. I think Phoenix has done his job for the most part in the mid lane, returning to Echo Fox. I think someone who has provided better performances than I would have expected of him for Echo Fox would be Solo in the top side. I think he's provided more than I would have hoped that he could have offered for Echo Fox, and I think that's a reason why they've been able to get these victories.
The biggest climb of the week, TSM, and the top three there you see is pretty much the same. TSM, the biggest move, handing Liquid their first loss of the season, and this team is still incredibly inconsistent. That first game against Optic, they were down big early, probably shouldn't have won that game, and then you're sitting at 2-5, seriously concerned about this squad, and then they bounce back the very next day and take down the 7-0 Liquid in pretty convincing fashion. That win alone is why they're climbing up.
Yeah, this was a huge weekend for Team Solo Mid, and I want to talk about specifically those two matches, because when you look at the Optic one, Optic got away with an early advantage over TSM, and the reason why TSM is able to stall and get back into the game are the individual performances from players like Bjergsen, like Broken Blade, being able to stall out the game, get them to a point where they can show these advantages over their counterparts on the other side, get that victory. And the win against TL is hugely important, I think, for this squad, because you've seen TSM struggle with a 2-4 start before this weekend, and you knew that, hey, they got to get something done. This is an incredibly important time for this team to start putting up victories, turn around this record here. And again, an important emotional matchup against Team Liquid here. And what was really important is they identified the way to win was through Broken Blade. They got the counter pick matchup, and they even had the mid lane priority thanks to Bjergsen's match against Jensen and how he performed. Get the scuttles for Acadian, move on to that top side, pressure down that Yorick, get that victory. That was a great adjustment from TSM because they had a chance to win earlier on in the season, didn't adjust to play against Broken Blade, and they did this time.
Yeah, and really Jackson, the top lane, has looked pretty good playing carries around him. The top three is the same as last week. I think Liquid, Cloud9, clearly the best two, and it'll be a while before anyone is taking that from them. Maybe next week, FlyQuest, we saw them go 0-2. They still stayed in at number 3. They go 2-0 this week. They've been a relatively good surprise so far as well, but right now they're in at number 3.
They certainly have been a good surprise, and hey, even when it's a better surprise when Viper gets to bust out the Riven on the LCS stage.
Nah, that's banned from now on.
Stunt on some fools, and hey, even punish the World Championship level Bang player there with that Riven play. I like what I've seen from FlyQuest to start out the year. This is a good squad that has a lot of potential to really go the distance here.
Playing against Riven is never fun, no matter what champion you're playing against it.